Kara Faulkner booked her mother-in-law into a storage closet on her late husband's travel points. Nora Faulkner, widow and former event planner, didn't beg for a better room. She called an old friend who knew exactly where the real keys were kept. By nightfall, her name was back on the master suite and on every account Kara thought she controlled. She'd spent years as the quiet matriarch. Now she was the one setting the reservations. And when Kara tried to check in again, the system itself would tell her, "Access denied." All right, before we dive into this crazy story, do me a favor. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. The sun burned low over the red rocks of Sedona, casting golden light across the glass front of the Sedona Vista Resort. Guests stepped out of Teslas and black Escalades, their luggage wheeled swiftly behind them by uniformed porters. Inside, the lobby shimmered with polished stone, floral arrangements, and the quiet murmur of wealth. Nora Faulkner stepped out of the SUV last, her hand still on the doorframe as her son Liam and daughter-in-law Kara breezed ahead with Ellie in tow. She adjusted the strap on her modest weekender bag, the same one she'd used since before her husband passed. No one offered to carry it. Kara strode up to the marble front desk with the confidence of someone who expected upgrades. "Reservation for the Faulkner 5, she said crisply. The front desk manager nodded and tapped at the screen. "Of course, Mrs. Faulkner, we have you in 2 adjoining suites. 4 keys?" Kara smiled. "Yes, that's correct." Nora stood a few paces behind, the phrase "the Faulkner 5" echoing in her ears. Her smile didn't falter, but something behind her eyes dimmed. The concierge extended 4 sleek leather card holders. Liam took them without looking back. Nora cleared her throat gently. "Excuse me, was there a key for me?" The concierge hesitated, eyes flicking to the screen. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I only have 4 names on the master booking." Kara's head turned, tight and composed. "We thought you'd want something quieter. You mentioned needing rest." "I didn't mention sleeping next to mop buckets," Nora said quietly. A younger staff member appeared at the edge of the lobby. "Ma'am, I can show you to your accommodations." Nora followed him down a side hallway lined with guest rooms that slowly gave way to staff-only signage. The air cooled and dimmed. At the end of the corridor, a beige door creaked open to reveal a converted storage space. No windows, 1 flickering overhead bulb, and a narrow cot jammed between folded linens and a rolling cart stacked with pool towels. "We've set up temporary lodging here," the staffer mumbled, avoiding her eyes. "There's a nightlight, and we brought in an extra blanket." Nora stepped inside. The door closed behind her with a whispering latch. The air smelled like chlorine and old dust. From her bag, she took out her husband's folded obituary. She didn't look at it, just placed it on the metal shelf beside her. 10 minutes passed, then 30. No knock, no apology. At some point, the light above her blinked once, then again. She sat on the cot, spine straight, eyes forward. There were no windows, no clock, only the soft hum of industrial vents and the occasional bang of carts being wheeled outside the door. Much later, when she finally lay back, the cot gave a soft squeak. She watched the light flicker above her. The sound of the luxury resort was muted here, as though she'd been placed outside its boundaries. A faint rustle at the door startled her. It creaked open just a sliver. Ellie's small hand slipped through, placing something carefully on the floor. A granola bar. And next to it, a folded sheet of drawing paper. By the time Nora reached the door, Ellie was gone, her soft footsteps retreating down the hallway like a whisper no one else would hear. Nora picked up the paper. It was a crayon sketch of a guest suite. Big windows, a real bed, a flower in a vase. In the corner, a smiling figure with silver hair stood next to a window, arms wide, eyes open. Scrawled at the top, "You should be here." Nora didn't cry. She didn't even sit down. She folded the drawing carefully, tucked it inside her travel bag, and stared at the door. Then she took out her phone, opened her contacts, and tapped a name she hadn't called in years. "Janelle," she said when the voice answered. "I need a favor, quietly." The morning light hit Sedona's red cliffs like fire on stone, but the spa cafe felt cool, shaded, and deliberately serene. Smooth music floated through hidden speakers, and waitstaff moved like whispers between bamboo planters and white umbrellas. Nora sat alone at a corner table, her back straight, her linen blouse crisp. The ceramic cup of black coffee in front of her sat untouched. A tap on her shoulder broke the quiet. "Nora Faulkner," said a low voice, still dressing like a woman who plans events, not just survives them. Nora stood and hugged Janelle Rivera, a soft, short embrace with nothing performative about it. Janelle was compact and sharp-eyed, with a retired event planner polish that hadn't dulled in retirement. Her silver bangles jingled faintly as she took a seat. "I'm not surviving," Nora said. "Not today." Janelle slid her sunglasses off. "Then tell me what the hell's going on?" Nora took out her phone, tapped into her email, and turned the screen toward her. "This is the original reservation," she said. "The one Kara forwarded 2 months ago. 5 guests, my name included. Now look at this." She swiped up to reveal a second email, dated 3 days ago, from the resort's confirmation system. Only 4 names listed. Janelle scanned it quickly, then opened her own phone, her nails clicking against the screen. "Who paid?" Nora's voice was flat. "They used Malcolm's points." Janelle's thumb stopped mid-scroll. She looked up. "They booked it," she said slowly, "with your late husband's travel rewards?" Nora nodded once. "And left you off?" Janelle's voice had dropped to a near growl. "I slept next to a mop sink," Nora said, her tone brittle. Janelle exhaled sharply and leaned back in her chair. "That's not just cold, Nora. That's strategic. You weren't just forgotten. You were removed." Nora took a sip of her coffee now. Finally. It had cooled, but the bitterness grounded her. "I don't want pity. I want clarity." "Well," Janelle said, already scrolling again, "good news. I still have contacts. Alex Kim runs this place now. He was in training when I did the Sedona Gala back in 14. Sharp guy. Doesn't love liars." "I'm not asking for favoritism," Nora said, "just truth. That's what Alex gives." She put down her phone. "But the request has to be clean. Righteous." Nora reached into her tote and pulled out a manila envelope, the edges worn from years in a home file drawer. Inside, her original marriage certificate, a copy of the travel trust agreement, and a notarized code that Malcolm had insisted she memorize. "In case I go first," he'd said years ago. She slid it across the table. Janelle didn't smile. She just nodded, sharp and slow. "This," she said, "isn't survival either. This is repositioning." From across the patio, a server approached with a tray of lemon water and small plates. Nora watched him pass, then turned her gaze toward the cliffs beyond. The morning breeze shifted the edge of the envelope slightly, exposing the words, "Primary Legacy Beneficiary," typed in bold. Janelle lifted her phone again. "I'll text Alex," she said. "Give him 30 minutes. He won't make a move unless he knows it's clean. But if he says yes..." She tapped the message and hit send. "You're not just back on the reservation." "What am I then?" Nora asked, voice low. Janelle's eyes didn't flinch. "You're the one holding it." Nora didn't blink. Instead, she leaned forward, opened her bag, and carefully placed Ellie's folded drawing next to her coffee cup, the one with the sketch of the guest suite and the crayon version of herself, arms wide open. She smoothed the paper's edges with her fingertips, then looked up toward the resort's gleaming glass facade. Let them have their brunch, she thought. Her table had just become the command post. The scent of rosemary focaccia and seared scallops drifted through the rooftop breeze as the Faulkners gathered at their patio table under a canopy of string lights. Waiters lit candles in glass cylinders, while Kara posed her wine glass just right for a photo that would never include Nora. She wasn't invited. From her room-turned-linen closet, Nora had watched the sun dip behind the cliffs through a maintenance window across the hallway. She heard laughter echo faintly through a vent. Liam's bark, Kara's polished chuckle. No one had knocked, no one had called. Her phone buzzed. "Ellie, they said you were tired." Nora stared at the screen. One sentence. No emoji. Just the truth with a teenager's devastating brevity. She stood, ran a comb through her hair, and stepped out of the storage room like someone leaving an accident she refused to call a crash. Downstairs, the main lobby had dimmed into evening elegance, everything amber and low and expensive, but Nora turned away from the elevators, heading toward a small sign near the concierge, Vista Cellar Lounge, private access only. She descended the narrow staircase and was met with hushed jazz and the scent of aged oak and citrus peel. No crowd, just scattered guests speaking in murmurs over charcuterie and candlelight. She found an empty booth in the corner and settled in, alone but entirely composed. A waiter approached. "Ma'am? I'd like something simple," she said. "No shrimp? No pork. Just something warm and well-plated." He gave a short nod and disappeared, returning minutes later with a single plate of roasted vegetables, herbed chicken breast, and a glass of deep burgundy Syrah. Nora inhaled once, then picked up her fork. "Mrs. Faulkner?" She looked up. Alex Kim stood beside her table, dark vest, resort pin, clipboard tucked under his arm. He didn't smile, but his voice carried a practiced warmth. "I'm Alex," he said. "Front desk and client services. We've completed preliminary verification on the Legacy Trust." Nora dabbed the corner of her mouth with a napkin, calm as if this were any Tuesday. "And?" she asked. "Your ID checks out. So does your history. Your name is tied to the founding member of the account and attached trust." "Meaning?" "Meaning the system is re-evaluating your access." He lowered his voice. "While it does, I've arranged temporary lodging more appropriate to your status." He extended a leather folder. Inside, a single key card embossed with a silver S, the Sedona Vista seal. "Suite 314, he added. "Corner view, desert facing, it's quiet." Nora didn't take the key immediately. "Does the family know?" Alex's gaze didn't waver. "Not from me." She slid the folder into her bag. "Thank you," she said, not smiling but deeply sincere. "If you need anything," he said, "just come directly to me. We take legacy beneficiaries seriously here." When he left, she finished her meal slowly, every bite intentional, every sip considered. She didn't check her phone. She didn't look for them upstairs. Instead, she rose, nodded to the bartender, and walked the long, quiet hall to the elevator reserved for executive guests. Suite 314 greeted her with silence and scent, sandalwood candles, chilled air, and linen sheets turned down by hand. She ran her palm across the edge of the king-sized bed. No cot, no bleach, no utility shelves. She drew back the blackout curtains to reveal the horizon, red rock silhouetted in moonlight. The desert stretched wide and unknowable, like grief, like possibility. In the bathroom, she turned on the marble tub, added a sachet of lavender salts, and stood watching steam rise. Across the suite, she placed Ellie's drawing on the writing desk. It looked more like prophecy now than comfort. She sank into the tub slowly. No rush, no noise. And for the first time since arriving, Nora let herself exhale. Not because she was tired, but because she was ready. Kara stormed across the marble lobby like someone on a schedule she believed the world owed her. Her wedges clicked against the stone as she approached the front desk, clutching her phone like a gavel. Alex Kim was already there, composed, unbothered, and folding a printed itinerary into a crisp trifold. "I need to speak to someone about a reservation change," Kara began, placing both hands on the counter like she owned it. "There seems to be a serious miscommunication." Alex looked up without hurrying. "Certainly. Reservation name?" "Faulkner, Kara Faulkner. We have 2 rooms under our family name. There was an error with guest placement." Alex nodded once and keyed something into his system. "Yes. I see 2 adjoining suites under your account. 4 guests listed. Check-in confirmed. System shows no error." Kara's jaw flexed. "Then how is Nora in a suite? Alone?" Alex didn't blink. "Because she's on her own reservation now, under her legal name, verified by the resort, and backed by the Legacy Travel Trust associated with the account. That trust was created by my father-in-law, and designated to his wife as the primary beneficiary, which she still is." Liam approached mid-conversation, his baseball cap pulled low and his tone immediately defensive. "But she's not on the key card for our room." That should matter, right? Alex turned, calm as ever. It doesn't. Because she's no longer in your room, she has her own. Liam opened his mouth, but Kara cut in first. We just want to make sure this doesn't affect our itinerary, the spa, the dinner reservations. Of course, Alex said, smiling just slightly. Those are all separate from her account. You're free to continue with your plans. So is she. Ellie had wandered down from the lounge mezzanine, unseen by either of her parents. She stood behind a column near the check-in kiosk, watching her mother's sharp gestures, her father's narrowed eyes. From across the room she spotted Nora. The elevator opened and Nora stepped out slowly, radiant in a dove-gray wrap dress and oversized sunglasses. Her posture had shifted, less weary, more anchored. She moved like she'd just had 8 uninterrupted hours of sleep and didn't owe a single person an explanation. She passed by without acknowledging her son or daughter-in-law, didn't glance, didn't pause. Instead, she moved toward the spa corridor, nodding once to Alex as she passed. Ellie looked between them and whispered, almost to herself, "She's not even mad. She's glowing." Kara caught sight of her daughter and quickly smoothed her expression. "Elle, go back upstairs, okay? Your dad and I are sorting something out." Ellie didn't move. Her eyes followed Nora until she disappeared behind a frosted glass door marked Serenity Wing, Guests Only. Inside, Nora was greeted with soft music and an herbal steam scent. Her name was already printed on the slate appointment board. Faulkner, N. Widow's Reclaim Package, 90 minutes. She nodded at the receptionist, was handed a warm towel for her neck, and ushered to a private room where the air smelled faintly of bergamot and rosemary. She sank onto the heated massage table and closed her eyes. Later, wrapped in a thick robe, she reclined on a lounge chair in the spa's sunroom. A charcuterie board sat beside her, garnished with fig slices and honeycomb. A fresh glass of Syrah stood waiting, catching light from the windows overlooking the red cliffs. The sun dipped toward the horizon, turning everything outside gold and blood orange. Nora raised her glass to no one in particular. She wasn't celebrating yet, she was witnessing. This wasn't victory. It was recognition. Brunch at the Canyon View Terrace came with cloth napkins, bottomless mimosas, and panoramic views of Sedona's blazing cliffs. But the real luxury sat between Nora and Janelle in the form of a thick, leather-bound binder. Nora flipped another page, careful not to let the wind catch it. "It's all here," she said quietly. "My name, his signature, nothing ever removed." Janelle leaned in, her readers perched low on her nose. "Not just your name. Priority tier access. Immediate control. He left the whole account in your hands, Nora." "I know." Nora traced a line down the page with one manicured finger. "But they banked on me never asking." Janelle took a long sip of espresso and shook her head. "Kara didn't just forget you. She filed a claim with the resort's network 3 weeks ago." She tapped a printed email. "Said you were suffering from cognitive disorientation after widowhood, requested control of the trust to ensure safe family management." Nora didn't blink. "And she called me the unstable one." "That's not care," Janelle said. "That's theft dressed as concern." "It's fraud," Nora said softly, folding the page back into place. "Let's treat it like it is." The binder snapped shut. Across the terrace, a waiter refilled their coffee and placed a fresh basket of pastries on the table. Nora didn't touch them. Instead, she reached into her bag and retrieved the black leather key holder Alex had given her the night before. She placed it beside her cup, like a badge. "Do I file the dispute through you?" she asked. Janelle smiled. "You don't file anything. You are the account." Just then, Alex approached, clipboard in hand, dark sunglasses tucked into his shirt pocket. "Good morning, ladies." Nora nodded, calm and clear-eyed. "We were just discussing some family logistics." "I've already received updated instruction from Resort Legal," Alex said, placing a thin envelope on the table. "You've been reinstated as full primary, retroactively." Janelle opened it and whistled low. "That fast?" "We take legacy claims seriously," Alex said. "Starting today, full concierge services are available to you. You'll have administrative access to all itinerary items tied to the travel trust, as well as authority to override, reassign, or cancel any elements." Nora let that sit in the air like heat off the rocks. "Does the family know?" she asked. "They're being notified now." 2 floors down, Kara's tablet buzzed in her lap mid-pedicure. She tapped the screen and stared. Notice: Travel Trust Beneficiary Control Reassigned. Primary: Nora M. Faulkner. Effective immediately. What? Her voice was sharp enough to make the spa attendant glance up. Liam looked up from his lounge chair. "What now?" Kara stood, grabbing a towel. "She's taking everything. The dinners, the excursions, the room upgrades." "She can't do that." "She just did." Back on the terrace, Nora stood and took one final look at the cliffs. "They're going to come after it again, aren't they?" Janelle smiled like someone watching fireworks just before the boom. "Let them try." That afternoon, Kara stormed back to the front desk in a peach maxi dress and too much bronzer. She slammed her phone on the counter. "I need to speak with Resort Legal." Alex stepped out from behind a frosted panel, holding a folder. "Already did. Your previous claim was reviewed. The documents were inconsistent and misleading. I was trying to protect the family experience." "By removing the family's matriarch?" he asked smoothly. "I'm not going to be excluded from the trip I booked." "You're not," he said. "You're just no longer in charge of it." Her voice pitched upward. "She's turning this into some kind of power play." Alex didn't flinch. "We call it a correction." That evening, Nora sat on her private terrace in a white robe, legs crossed, a fresh Syrah in hand. A curated charcuterie board rested on the table beside her. Soft cheeses, smoked nuts, local olives. Sunset was beginning again, the red rocks igniting like slow flame. She tapped open her phone, read the legal confirmation from the resort again, and smiled to herself. Her trip, her rules, her name in bold. The Serenity Wing smelled like eucalyptus and lavender, the kind of scent that whispered money and silence in equal measure. Nora walked barefoot across heated stone floors, her robe folded perfectly, her hands loose at her sides. A spa attendant met her by name. "Mrs. Faulkner, your treatment room is ready." The suite was designed for stillness, a rainfall shower, a soaking tub lined with river stones, and a massage table already turned down in soft taupe linen. A carafe of cucumber water waited beside a candle marked Widow's Reclaim, custom blend, Janelle's handiwork. Nora lay down without a word, no fanfare, no second thoughts. Outside the spa suite, the glass doors slid open again, harder this time. Kara barreled in, cheeks flushed, heels loud. "I need access to room 6, she snapped. "My mother-in-law is in there and this is a family misunderstanding." The receptionist didn't blink. "I'm sorry. That treatment room is privately reserved." "I'm not asking to take over, I'm just asking to go in." "You weren't booked today, Mrs. Faulkner." Kara's eyes darted to the computer screen. "Check again." "We did. This wing is restricted to primary beneficiary appointments today." Kara's mouth opened, closed, then opened again. "So she gets the whole spa now?" "She reserved it using the Travel Trust's executive tier," the receptionist said evenly. "It's legally within her authority." Kara stepped back as if slapped. "Unbelievable!" Across the spa courtyard, Ellie lingered behind a potted aloe plant, unnoticed. In her hands, a folded card made from the resort sketch pad and a few crayons she'd taken from the front desk. She waited for the receptionist to turn, then quietly tiptoed over to Nora's door and slid the card underneath. Back inside, Nora's massage ended in silence. She dressed slowly, pulling on her robe, then noticed something by her feet. She stooped down. The card was simple, a hand-drawn version of Suite 314, a crown floating above the bed. Inside the heart-shaped outline, Ellie had written, "Best room in the resort." Nora pressed her lips together, smiling without showing teeth. She folded the card into her robe pocket. An hour later, she passed through the front lobby, hair towel wrapped and face glowing, stopping only to drop a note at the concierge desk. Alex Kim read it behind the counter. At the top, in Nora's tight, efficient handwriting, "No contact, no upgrades, no exceptions." "Understood," Alex said, slipping the paper into the secure ledger. "Anything else?" "Yes," Nora said, pulling a second slip from her pocket. Have their spa charges rerouted. I don't want a single eucalyptus wrap billed to the trust." Alex's mouth twitched, not a smile, just quiet respect. Consider it done. Down at the pool, Liam sat hunched over a watered-down drink, his sandals half off, socks rolled at the ankles. He stared at the surface of the water like it had answers. Kara paced beside a lounge chair, phone to her ear, talking in clipped bursts. "No, I'm not overreacting. She's weaponizing a weekend." Pause. "No, you don't understand. She's got concierge privileges. Do you know what that means here?" Pause. "She's not even doing anything. She's just breathing expensive air." Liam rubbed his temples. "Can we just do the hike tomorrow and pretend this didn't happen?" Kara spun on him. "No, we can't just hike. Not unless she approves it." Upstairs, Nora changed into fresh linen pants and a navy blouse, opened the mini-fridge, and poured herself chilled cucumber water. She moved to the balcony, gazing down at the very lounge chairs where her son sulked and his wife spun in circles. She watched them a moment, then turned away, not with satisfaction, with certainty. Twilight in Sedona came with a hush, the kind that settled like velvet over the red cliffs. The rooftop terrace of Sedona Vista was lit with soft amber globes strung above crisp white linens, flickering candles and hand-cut crystal. Nora sat at the center of it all. She wore charcoal silk and a quiet smile. Janelle, dressed in elegant rust-colored linen, sipped a glass of Viognier across from her, while Alex Kim stood beside the chef's station, nodding as the final touches were plated. 3 seats, 3 names on the reservation. No open chairs. The first course arrived, roasted beet tartlets with chèvre and microgreens. Nora took one bite, then another, listening as Janelle recounted the time they'd pulled off a wedding with a missing groom and an accidental vegan cake. "I still say we should have just swapped the groomsmen and prayed," Janelle said. Nora laughed, freely, fully. It startled her how good it felt. Across the rooftop, Kara stepped out of the elevator, holding her phone mid-text. She looked up and froze. The candlelit table, the private chef, her mother-in-law glowing under the string lights like she belonged there more than anyone ever had, and Alex Kim pouring wine for her. Kara's lips parted, but no sound came. A waiter moved between them with a bottle of Syrah, blocking her line of sight. She took a step back, then another, and vanished into the elevator like smoke. From behind a planter near the terrace's edge, Ellie appeared, half hiding in a zip-up hoodie and hotel slippers. She stepped toward Nora's table slowly, careful not to interrupt the moment. Nora saw her and smiled. "You're not on the reservation," she said gently. "I know." Ellie's voice was soft. "I just wanted to say, that looked like a real dinner, not a content shoot." Nora gestured for her to come closer. "You hungry?" Ellie shook her head. "Just curious." There was a pause, warm and private. "Can I eat with you tomorrow?" Ellie asked. Nora tilted her head. "One condition." Ellie looked up. "No cameras," Nora said. "Just conversation." Ellie's smile returned, the real kind, the one she didn't post. "Deal." Inside the resort's billing office, Kara stared at her tablet, flicking through spa charges and resort fees like she could swipe them away. A red banner flashed at the top. Family Suite 207, balance exceeded, please visit front desk. A knock at the door. Not a soft one. She opened it to find Alex standing there, composed as ever, holding a single envelope. "Evening, Mrs. Faulkner," he said. "I wanted to personally deliver this, out of courtesy." She took it, staring at him like he'd just offered a subpoena. Inside, a printed receipt. The amount wasn't large, but the name on the sender line chilled her more than the total. Charged to the Faulkner Trust, reserved beneficiary Nora M. Faulkner. Authorized approval, discontinued. Alex offered a polite nod. "Your room account is currently out of credit. We'll need a personal card on file for the remainder of your stay." "She's doing this to humiliate me," Kara snapped. "No, ma'am," Alex said. "She's doing this to correct history." Back on the rooftop, dessert was served, balsamic strawberries over lemon mousse. Nora watched the candlelight flicker in her glass, the reflection of a younger woman across the table. Not Janelle, not Ellie, but herself, 10 years younger and quieter, still waiting for permission to take up space. She lifted her spoon. No permission needed. Below, a family of 4 took a selfie on the lower patio, the kind Kara would have curated, filtered, posted with a hashtag. But up here, no one posed, no one edited. Just light and food and memory being made on her own terms. The Sedona Vista Suite was the crown jewel of the resort, top floor, triple terraced with unobstructed desert views, and a private entrance few guests even knew existed. It was usually reserved for high-profile guests, retired senators, discreet celebrities, the kind of people who didn't post photos because they didn't need to. That morning, Nora unlocked it with a single keycard and stepped into quiet opulence. She moved through the suite slowly, her hand grazing the curved back of the cream velvet sofa, the cool marble island, the glass doors leading to a terrace that stretched wider than her first apartment, every inch of it silent and still, like it had been waiting for her. Alex had left a note on the entry table. "Welcome to the suite your name built." Okay. She folded it once and placed it in her pocket just above Ellie's card. Down at the concierge desk, Kara tapped impatiently at the screen of her phone while Liam leaned on the counter, checking his watch like the time could save him. "We're confirming our dinner reservation," Kara said, barely keeping her tone in check. "Sedona Vista Suite Terrace, 7 p.m. anniversary seating. You should have it under Faulkner." The concierge paused, then typed something. His brows lifted subtly. "I'm sorry," he said. "That terrace has been reserved. Under a different Faulkner." Kara's voice cracked just slightly. "What do you mean, different Faulkner?" "Mrs. Nora Faulkner is currently the registered guest of the Sedona Vista Suite. The reservation is locked." Kara blinked. Liam stepped in. "So we don't get anything? We were planning this." The concierge glanced down politely. "We'd be happy to arrange something on the lower patio." Kara laughed. Short, sharp, bitter. "A folding table by the fire pit? No thanks." Upstairs, on the private terrace, Nora sat barefoot with her legs curled beneath her, sipping chilled rose water from a crystal glass. Janelle sat beside her in a wide-brimmed sun hat, sketching casually in the corner of her journal. Ellie, barefoot too, had her sketchpad in her lap, drawing the cliffs in strokes of rust, gold, and pale lavender. A small tray between them held sliced citrus, rosemary crackers, and salted chocolate. The silence wasn't awkward. It was earned. Ellie finished shading the clouds and looked up. "You know," she said to no one in particular, "I thought this place was perfect when we got here. Now it feels smaller than it did yesterday." Nora didn't answer. She just looked out at the red rocks glowing in the late afternoon light, her fingers loose around her glass. Janelle said it first. "That's what happens when you reclaim space that always had your name on it." Below, on the edge of the lower patio, Kara stood by the decorative railing, arms crossed, face blank. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. The silhouette of her mother-in-law seated high above her, visible through gauzy white curtains, backlit by gold light, said more than words ever could. Nora didn't turn around. She just lifted her glass in a slow, elegant toast. No gloat, no grin. A gesture of ownership, one that didn't need an audience to matter. From beside Kara, Liam muttered under his breath, "How the hell did she pull this off?" Janelle's voice drifted from the balcony, not loud but not soft either. "She didn't pull anything," she said. Nora leaned back in her chair, eyes closed against the orange glow. Janelle finished the sentence. "She just reclaimed what was hers." Back in the suite, Ellie opened the mini fridge, took out a bottle of sparkling water, and handed it to Nora like a little ceremonial offering. "Can I sketch this room?" she asked. Nora smiled. "Only if I get a copy." Ellie nodded. "One for you, one for the scrapbook." "Good," Nora said, "because this—" she gestured around her, "this one's going to be worth remembering." The email landed just after sunrise. Kara was sitting cross-legged on the bed in Suite 207, her laptop open, trying to book a wine tour she couldn't afford, and pretending she still had access. She clicked the notification without reading the subject line. Subject: Account Review Notification. Sedona Vista Internal Audit. Her stomach dropped. Your guest account has been flagged for internal review due to discrepancies in the booking process, including falsified beneficiary data and unauthorized trust modifications. Effective immediately, you are suspended from making reservations under the Faulkner Travel Trust or its affiliated networks. She blinked, reread, blinked again. What the hell? She muttered. Liam shuffled out of the bathroom in a towel, rubbing his head with another. What now? Kara turned the laptop toward him. Apparently, I'm banned. For what? Misuse of a legacy account. Liam squinted. You didn't misuse it. I optimized it. Ellie stepped out of the second bedroom, pajama-clad, earbuds still dangling from her collar. She froze at the tone in her mom's voice. You optimized Grandma's travel fund by removing her name? She asked flatly. Kara turned sharply. Don't start. Ellie raised her hands and backed off. Was just asking. But the damage was already moving, faster than Kara could deflect it. Downstairs, in a corner of the admin offices behind the concierge desk, Alex Kim folded a printed statement into a branded envelope. His jaw was set, but there was no trace of malice, only precision. Beside him, Janelle sat with a manila folder open on her lap. Inside, copies of Kara's original request to override Nora's name on the trust account. She used language like emotional instability, Janelle said, tapping the paper, which is rich, considering the email timestamps line up with her influencer posts. Alex added the documents to the audit file. Once the trust was verified and the beneficiary authenticated, the false claim triggered a protocol. We're required to flag her. And she's banned now? Not just here, Alex said. The entire partner network. No bookings, no upgrades, no access, anywhere. Janelle tilted her head, a slow smile forming. Guess she should have read the fine print. Later that afternoon, a staff member delivered a crisp envelope to Nora's suite. She opened it at the kitchen island, still in her robe, coffee mug in hand. The letterhead was formal, Sedona Vista Resort Management. We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience and indignity caused to you upon your arrival. Your trust account has been fully restored, and we've applied a future credit of $3,000 for any upcoming Sedona Vista stays, with our gratitude. Below that, additional legacy points credited $10,000. Nora folded the letter slowly, then placed it in the drawer beside her husband's old travel log, now repurposed as a journal. She wrote one line beneath the date, "They finally see what I never stopped being." On the spa lawn below the Vista suite, Kara paced in circles with her phone pressed to her ear, voice low and frantic. No, you don't understand. This wasn't fraud. It was just a reallocation. Pause. Yes, I know her name was on the trust. I just thought she wouldn't want the responsibility. Pause. No, I didn't lie. I filtered. Ellie sat beneath a jacaranda tree just far enough to pretend not to hear, but not far enough to miss it. Kara's voice rose, slicing the afternoon air. I'm not getting banned over some widow's revenge trip. Ellie looked up at the suite, saw the terrace curtains sway, and whispered to herself, You already did. That night, Janelle and Nora sat beside the fire pit in the Vista Suite courtyard, sipping tea under wool blankets. Do you want to press charges? Janelle asked. No, Nora said, but I want the door to stay closed. Janelle nodded. It will. Nora pulled Ellie's drawing from her pocket and set it on the table between them, the one with the crown above the bed. Then she turned to Janelle and said quietly, Let's do something with this. Make it bigger than just me. Janelle raised a brow. Like what? Nora smiled faintly. I have an idea. The next morning, Nora stood at the concierge desk, not waiting in line, simply being acknowledged. Alex approached, a folder already in hand. I took the liberty of updating your guest file, he said, sliding the folder toward her. You're now listed as the sole point of contact for all billing, itinerary management, and legacy travel correspondence. Good, Nora replied. Send future mail, alerts, and receipts directly to me. I want nothing routed through Kara's name ever again. Confirmed, Alex said. She paused. That includes Liam. Alex nodded once. All family group benefits have been frozen pending personal payment. Nora signed the form and turned without a single glance back. Liam found her in the Vista Lounge an hour later, where Ellie sat on a wide chair with her sketch pad, drawing a pale watercolor of the red cliffs under cloud shadow. "Mom," he started, arms loosely crossed. "Can we talk?" Nora didn't look up. "You're talking." He shifted his weight. "Look, it wasn't my idea. You know Kara. She's the planner. I didn't know she submitted that claim." Nora's eyes moved to the side, not cold but exhausted. "But you slept in the suite, ate the chef's table dinner, used the spa. I thought it was all comped." "It was," she said. "To me." Liam exhaled through his nose, lips pressed tight. "I didn't mean for this to happen. You know how Kara gets when she thinks she's right. And you let her think it," Nora said softly. "That's the part that still stings." He looked away. "You were supposed to say, she's his wife, not, she's just tired." There was a long pause between them, filled only by the soft brush of Ellie's pencil strokes. Liam cleared his throat. "I just don't want this to ruin everything." Nora gave a tired smile. "It didn't ruin everything. It just revealed it." Later that afternoon, Kara's phone buzzed with a single-line text from the resort billing team. "Suite 207 charges flagged, unauthorized luxury upgrades, rerouted to backup payment on file." A second later, her banking app buzzed. $4,973.22, pending charge, Sedona Vista Resort. She blinked at the number. Then again. "Liam!" she shouted, holding the phone out like it was broken. "They charged our card." "For what?" "Massage add-ons, wine pairings, that stupid poolside cabana you insisted on." "I didn't insist," Liam said, already weary. "I just went with the flow." "Well, the flow just drained our checking account." Across the resort, Ellie sat cross-legged on a plush daybed in Nora's private lounge, a half-finished sketch of a woman in sunglasses and a wide-brimmed hat resting on her lap. A tray beside her held mint tea, fresh berries, and a note from the concierge. "Guest privilege confirmed, Sedona Vista Legacy Lounge access for E. Faulkner." She smiled without needing to understand what it meant. Upstairs, Nora watched from the suite balcony, quietly folding a silk scarf and placing it in her travel drawer. There was no music playing, no dialogue, just the sound of someone reclaiming their silence. Back online, Kara refreshed her influencer dashboard. The banner had changed, account under review for ethical violations. And below that, dozens of comments. "Is this the one who booked her mother-in-law into a supply closet? Oof, if you're gonna fake luxury, at least don't use someone else's dead husband's points." Trust abuse? That's new. Her curated grid had become a cautionary tale. She closed the laptop. For once, no filter could fix it. That evening, Janelle arrived with a printout in hand. "It's spreading," she said. 4 boutique travel groups flagged her name, her credibility's toast. Nora took the paper and scanned it. "Good. Let the silence speak for me." Janelle handed her a second sheet. "This one's more interesting." A spreadsheet, line items totaling Kara and Liam's resort charges. At the bottom, a note from the billing team confirming successful rerouting. Nora circled the line in red ink. "Removed from trust. Final payment. Guest's personal card." She didn't smile. But she did exhale, slow and full. Sunday morning came with the scent of fresh herbs and scrambled eggs drifting from the rooftop dining patio. Table 12 had a reserved placard marked Faulkner Farewell Brunch, linen napkins, gold flatware, and a custom-printed menu with everyone's name. Except Nora's. She wasn't invited. Not officially. Kara wore a white midi dress and gold bangles, hair blown out just enough to whisper effortless. She posed with Liam near the mimosa station while the resort photographer snapped a few shots. "Let's do one of just us," she said brightly. "One with Ellie next." But Ellie wasn't there. She was 3 floors up, barefoot on the terrace of the Sedona Vista suite, wearing a hoodie over her tank top and holding an old-school instant camera she'd picked up from the gift shop. Nora stood beside her, loose cotton blouse, coffee mug in hand, watching the light shift over the cliffs. She didn't need a filter. She never had. Ellie leaned in, raised the camera, and snapped a photo mid-laugh. The machine whirred softly, the photo sliding out warm and blank. Nora blinked. Did I even smile? You didn't have to, Ellie said. You looked whole. Nora set her mug down, took the photo gently from her granddaughter, and held it in both hands like a letter she hadn't known she needed. Will it fade? Ellie shook her head. The good ones don't. Meanwhile, Kara refreshed her app, studying the angles from the farewell brunch. Table shots, group clinks, even a candid moment with Liam holding her chair. The photos looked polished, curated, perfect. She selected one, wrote a caption, "Sunset on the best trip yet, grateful for family, memories, and love." Then hit post. Minutes later, comments rolled in. Looks beautiful. Stunning setting, but where's the matriarch? Wait, isn't this the place from that trust scandal thread? No Grandma Nora? Odd choice. Kara locked her screen, jaw tight. She looked around the table at half-eaten pastries and forced conversation. Liam was scrolling. Her seat felt suddenly smaller. Legacy wasn't made of pictures, it was made of presence, and Nora was everywhere, without being there at all. Back in the suite, Nora slid the Polaroid into a silver frame she found in the desk drawer. The label on the back read, "For treasured moments." She placed it on the nightstand next to Ellie's crayon drawing. No montage, no gallery wall, just one image that told the real story. 2 women, 1 legacy, and the moment power stopped pretending to be quiet. Ellie sat cross-legged on the couch, sketching the room in soft pencil strokes, the folds of the curtain, the curve of the lamp, the lines of the woman in the chair who no longer asked for space. Nora walked over, glanced at the drawing. "You're getting better at shadows." Ellie grinned. "You give me good light." An alert popped up on Nora's tablet. An email from Janelle, subject line. "Next chapter?" She opened it. "Thinking Maine next year. No reservation trickery, no shared suites, just clean air, sea cliffs, and something called lobster pie. You in?" Nora typed slowly, "Only if the bed doesn't fold out of a wall." A second later, "Then I'll make sure you get the master suite this time, the one with the fireplace." Nora smiled. Not for the suite. For the idea that someone was still planning for her, not around her. She closed the email and turned toward Ellie. "You know," she said, "some photos go in scrapbooks, but others, they stay with you." Ellie looked up. "Which one's this?" Nora tapped the frame. "The one they didn't frame, but I will." The Serenity Wing was quiet that morning, its halls cool and perfumed with sandalwood and spearmint. The spa receptionist clicked gently at her tablet as a diffuser released a slow stream of mist behind her. Then the elevator chimed. Kara Faulkner stepped out like someone sent to reclaim what was hers, hair freshly curled, resort tote hanging from one shoulder, and a clipped expression that could cut a cucumber without touching it. She didn't bother smiling. "I'm here for a room reset," she said briskly. "Spa suite, under Faulkner." The receptionist looked up, already prepared. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Faulkner," she said. "Your access to the Serenity Wing has been deactivated per updated guest permissions." Kara's jaw tensed. "There's been a mistake." "There hasn't," Alex's voice said from behind. He stepped out of the adjoining hallway, hands folded neatly in front of him. "You've been removed from all trust-related access points," he said gently but firmly. "That includes spa privileges." Kara's face flushed pink. Rage, embarrassment, a flash of disbelief. "I've been coming to this spa for years." "Yes," Alex said, "on someone else's account." Kara stood frozen in the middle of the hallway, surrounded by silence she could no longer walk through. Above, Nora sat on the Vista Suite's private terrace in a robe and slippers, watching the moment unfold through the glass balustrade, mint tea in hand. She didn't move, didn't wave. She simply watched, the way someone might observe the final scene of a film they'd already memorized. Janelle stepped out behind her, holding a clipboard. "Bags are being sent to the front desk," she said. "Early checkout. Their request was never confirmed, so we technically still control the room block." Nora sipped her tea. "I'm not throwing them out." "I know," Janelle said. "We're just encouraging an efficient departure." Downstairs, Liam sat in a cushioned chair outside the fitness center, elbows on knees, watching Kara pace in furious circles by the spa entrance. "She's not letting us back in," Kara muttered, voice sharp. "I think that's been clear for a few days," Liam said quietly. "This isn't over." Liam leaned back, finally meeting her eyes. "Why does it need to be anything at all? Why can't we just move on?" Kara blinked, stunned by his calm. "Move on?" He shrugged. "Maybe that's what she's been doing this whole time, while we kept trying to rewrite it." Kara looked at him, searching for the man who used to follow her lead. And for the first time, he didn't look lost. Just done. Later that day, Nora stepped into the lounge lobby, where Alex handed her a slim envelope with her final itinerary printout. He spoke quietly. "Their belongings are at the front desk. Checkout scheduled for 2 p.m. Luggage tag confirmed." "Thank you," Nora said. "Make sure the bellhop is polite." "He always is," Alex replied, "even to the wrong guests." As they approached the concierge station, Kara's voice pierced the soft lobby hum. "You can't just throw us out," she snapped at the desk attendant. Alex appeared again, not summoned but inevitable. "We're not throwing you out," he said. "We're closing the chapter." Kara's face crumpled but no tears came, just static rage. "We're still Faulkners," she said. Alex nodded. "Exactly why we're treating you with discretion." Liam placed a hand on Kara's shoulder. She pulled away. Nora didn't come down. She didn't have to. Back in the suite, Ellie zipped her art case shut and looked up at her grandmother. "They're leaving?" Nora nodded. Ellie paused. "You okay?" "I'm not angry," Nora said. "I'm just not available." The last night at Sedona Vista unfolded not in spectacle, but in stillness. The resort's desert winds had quieted, as if the cliffs themselves were taking a final breath before dusk. In the Vista suite, soft jazz hummed from a recessed speaker, the kind that never asked for attention but filled the air like memory. Nora sat on the terrace in a cashmere wrap, legs tucked beneath her, holding a warm mug of chamomile tea. The sky had turned lavender gray with stars threatening to peek through. Janelle was nearby, reclined on a chaise with a book she hadn't touched in 20 minutes. Ellie, cross-legged on the patio rug, added color to the final page of her sketchpad. No one said much. No one needed to. For the first time in years, Nora felt a kind of peace that didn't ask for proof or permission. It just existed, like breath, like gravity, earned and unquestioned. When Ellie yawned, Nora brushed a hand gently over her granddaughter's curls. "Go wash up, sweetheart. I'll come tuck you in." Ellie nodded, her sketchpad tucked under one arm, and padded quietly inside. Nora waited until the door clicked shut. Then she reached for the leather folio resting beside her tea and opened the Travel Trust portal on her tablet. A soft chime welcomed her back in. Her name, once erased, now permanent at the top of the screen. She scrolled slowly. Final balance, $3,110.47. Most would have used it on one more suite, one more meal, another week of ocean views. But Nora didn't even hesitate. Her finger hovered over transfer, and she tapped with precision. A new sub-account opened, label EF Legacy Retreats. She typed the routing information herself, her personal account, under no shared name. It wasn't about hoarding or hiding. It was about protection, about preservation. This time, it would go where she decided, where no one else could touch it, where Ellie could inherit not just money, but intention. Across the suite, her email chimed. She tapped it open. Sender, Liam Faulkner. Subject, maybe we talk soon? I know things got tense. I just hope, for Ellie's sake, we can eventually clear the air. Let me know. She stared at the message for a long moment. Then she opened a new draft and typed 3 words. Air cleared, access revoked. She clicked send. No second draft. No edit. Meanwhile, in a cheap hotel suite 2 towns over, the only available room they could afford after checkout, Kara clicked confirm on a new booking attempt. Same network, different location. She entered her old login, tried to select a luxury spa package. A red error box appeared at the top of the screen. Account suspended. Legacy Trust flagged for misuse. Please contact Legal Affairs. Kara stared at it, hands frozen over the keyboard. For a second, she tried again, a different email, a new name, but the system didn't care. The system had already learned. She shut the laptop slowly and leaned back against the headboard. Outside, a neon vacancy sign blinked against the dark. Back at Sedona Vista, Nora placed her tablet on the table and rose to close the terrace doors. The room inside was dim, lit only by bedside sconces and the faint shimmer of desert light. Ellie's framed Polaroid still sat on the nightstand beside her crayon sketch, two tiny beacons of what had been salvaged. Janelle closed her book finally and stood. "Think she'll try again?" she asked softly. "She already did," Nora replied. "This time the door doesn't just lock." Janelle raised an eyebrow. "It vanishes," Nora said. They exchanged no more words. Instead, Janelle kissed her on the cheek and disappeared down the hall to her own room, her own door, her own earned rest. Nora slid under the soft white sheets, cool against her skin, and reached to switch off the light. But before she did, she looked at the framed photo once more. Not for confirmation, not for comfort, just to remember what a clean break looked like. Then she whispered, more to herself than anyone else, "Balance restored." And finally, with no one left to answer to, she turned out the light. The house didn't greet her with noise or echo when she returned, only stillness and sunlight through gauzy curtains. It smelled faintly of lavender and cedar, a blend she'd learned to love during long, quiet afternoons when the world moved too fast outside her walls. Nora set her suitcase down by the entryway but didn't unpack. Not yet. She walked through each room as if reacquainting herself, fingertips skimming the backs of chairs, the edges of doorframes. Nothing had changed. Not really. But she had, and now even the silence felt different. Less hollow, more chosen. When she entered the study, her breath caught. There, resting against the wood grain of her writing desk, was a small envelope. On the front, her name, written in blocky, earnest handwriting. Nora. All caps, no grandma this time, just her name, her whole self. She opened it carefully, fingers slow. Inside was a folded card made from thick paper. Ellie had drawn a tiny version of the Vista suite, complete with string lights and a wide-open terrace. Underneath, in her careful, looping print, "Thank you for showing me how to stay where I belong." Nora didn't sit immediately. She stood there, holding the card like something sacred, the kind of thank you that didn't ask for praise, only placement. She looked up, and her gaze settled on the photo now framed above her desk. The Polaroid, the one from the last morning on the terrace. Ellie mid-laugh, Nora's hand on her shoulder, both of them lit by desert sun. No filters, no rehearsals. A moment real enough to hang in permanence. The phone rang just after noon. She answered on speaker while unpacking one drawer at a time, placing scarves where they belonged and folding old receipts into the bin without hesitation. Janelle's voice came through bright and familiar. "So," she said, "you ready for the next one?" Nora chuckled softly. "You mean a trip that doesn't come with legal audits and luggage sabotage?" "Exactly. Clean air, salt breeze, I've got connections in Maine, cottage rental, fireplace, actual privacy. As long as the bed doesn't fold into a wall," Nora said, sliding a silk blouse into place. Janelle laughed. "Promise, master suite, real mattress, and no one but you gets the key." Nora smiled to herself, not the quick, polite smile people gave to keep things pleasant. This one was slower. It rose like morning light, quiet, earned, and lasting. "Then I'm in," she said. "Let's make it a tradition." "Legacy retreats," Janelle said with a wink in her voice. Nora's smile widened. "Exactly." That evening, she sat at the dining table with a glass of Merlot and the legal binder open beside her. No chaos, no tension, just intentional pages and a black pen. She reviewed the estate document slowly. On the beneficiaries page, she drew a single neat line through two names. Kara Faulkner, Liam Faulkner. Her hand didn't tremble. Beneath them, already printed, Eleanor Faulkner, primary heir, advisory contact. She initialed the update, then turned the page to the trust name, Faulkner Travel Legacy Account. A pause, then a decisive stroke of her pen. She crossed it out and wrote in script just beneath it, "The Nora Fund, not for ego, for clarity," so no one would forget where it began and where it would go next. Later, she returned to the study and lit the small candle that always reminded her of rosemary and dusk. The light glowed against the glass of the framed Polaroid, casting a soft shimmer along the desk. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, just enough to rustle the leaves but not enough to press against the windows. Peace again, but this time, not a fleeting gift. This time, peace was permanent, designed, protected. She took a final sip of her wine, eyes drifting to the card Ellie had left, still sitting just beneath the photo. She whispered aloud, voice clear in the still room. "Turns out, the room I deserved was always the one I built for myself." And somewhere in the quiet, it felt like something bigger than walls answered back. The porch creaked beneath their chairs, but it wasn't a complaint. Just an old house letting its guests settle in. Nora sat with her legs crossed at the ankle, a mug of coffee in her hands and a light cardigan draped over her shoulders. Morning had arrived in layers, pale gold over the treetops, a soft breeze curling in from the east. She didn't check the weather app. She didn't need to. Janelle sat beside her with a slice of toast balanced on a napkin and her phone face down on the armrest. Neither of them had spoken in a while. They didn't have to. The silence between them had become a kind of language, one that didn't require punctuation. "Did you sleep okay?" Janelle asked eventually, voice low, like anything louder would spook the quiet. Nora smiled into her mug. Like someone who didn't owe anyone anything. They both laughed, a soft, knowing sound that echoed gently off the porch rail. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked, and a breeze lifted the corner of the tablecloth. It was all so wonderfully uncurated. Just before noon, a white FedEx van pulled up to the curb. The driver hopped out and jogged up the path, clipboard in hand. Nora stood to greet him, took the thin rectangular box, signed without small talk, and returned to the porch. "What is it?" Janelle asked. Nora opened the box carefully, peeling back the corners of the wrapping paper. Inside was a sleek black frame, Sedona Vista Resort's signature style. At the top, a gold-embossed certificate. Legacy guest, Nora M. Faulkner, in honor of vision, grace, and uncompromised presence. Below that, in smaller script, valid across all Vista properties. Lifetime access. Janelle whistled. Not bad for a widow's revenge trip. Nora smiled but didn't respond. She turned the frame in her hands, not in awe, but in acceptance. This wasn't a surprise. It was the world catching up. Her phone buzzed a few minutes later. A text from Ellie. "Grandma, I think they're jealous of you." No emoji, no filters, just fact. Nora stared at the message for a long moment, her thumb hovering over the screen. Then she typed, "Jealous doesn't last, memory does." She stared at her own words, then tapped Save Text and added the screenshot to her digital scrapbook folder, the same one that now held scanned sketches, Polaroids, and a single menu from the chef's table dinner, folded in half but still stained faintly with fig compote. Every moment worth remembering. But only the true ones. The day passed slowly, like it knew it didn't have to hurry. Nora and Janelle moved inside when the sun got too sharp. They shared a lunch of crisp apple slices and sharp cheddar on rye. They read for a while. They dozed without guilt. And just before dusk, a knock came at the front door. Janelle raised an eyebrow. "You expecting someone?" Nora shook her head and opened the door. Standing there in weekend clothes, dark jeans, linen shirt, a bottle of red in hand, was Alex Kim. His smile was wide but easy, no longer the resort professional but something warmer. "I was driving through," he said. "Figured it wasn't right to be in the area and not say thank you." Nora stepped aside. "Only if you promise not to bring a clipboard." "No clipboard," he said, holding up both hands. "Just Merlot." He stepped into the living room, eyes scanning the bookshelves, the framed photo above the desk, the clean simplicity of the space. "You really did it," he said softly. "Not just the trip, the whole reclamation." Nora poured 3 glasses and handed one to each of them. It wasn't about revenge. Not really. No. Alex said, settling into a chair. It was about vision. Nora looked toward the window, the soft purple sky casting long shadows across the hardwood floor. It was about not asking anymore, she said. Just becoming. They clinked glasses gently, no toast needed. Later that night, long after the wine was gone and Janelle had gone home, Nora stood barefoot in the hallway, staring at the framed certificate on her wall. The porch light was still on. The wind had picked up just enough to whisper under the door. She walked into the study, turned off the lamp and ran one hand along the edge of the desk. Then she whispered, "Not for anyone else, not for the scrapbook, not even for Ellie, but just for herself. They made me invisible. So I built a view they'll never see." And this time, she didn't close the door behind her. She left it open, for what and who would come next.